As I said earlier, this is Shabbat Nachamu, a special Shabbat of comfort and consolation. After the 3 weeks of doom and heartbreak that lead to Tisha B'Av, which we marked last Saturday night and Sunday, we turn now to hope and consolation. And this is the first Shabbat in which the Haftarah is a Haftarah that is uplifting. There is a vision of hope and comfort. The first of 7 Haftarot, in contrast to 3 Haftarot of doom, and now there are 7 Haftarot of hope and consolation leading to Rosh Hashanah. The name Nachamu comes from the opening words of the Haftarah reading from tomorrow morning from the book of Isaiah, which begins, Nachamu, Nachamu Ami, comfort, comfort my people. So we go from the 3 weeks and Tisha B'Av, we transition now to hope. Last week, we were deep in the pit of heartbreak and sadness and sorrow. And this week we're supposed to find consolation. How does that work? How can we find consolation? We see still the images of people starving in Gaza. That has not changed. It's getting worse. We see people risking their lives to get flour. Last weekend, these horrifying photos of the hostages, of 2 hostages, were released, who have been starved by their captors. There's still 50 hostages in the tunnels of Gaza. 20 are believed to be alive. But last night, as you all know, the Israeli cabinet decided to intensify the war and take over Gaza. What will happen to the hostages? What will happen to the more than 1 million people who will be displaced from Gaza City? What will be the cost in human lives, in more suffering, in more starvation? How many Israeli soldiers will fall? How many families will mourn them? How many Palestinian civilians will fall? Not to speak about what's going on in the West Bank, with violence being inflicted upon Palestinians by Jewish extremists who come to grab their land. Where does this end? So how can we speak of Nachamu, of consolation, on a Shabbat like this? I found a teaching that opens one possible door. The Talmud, in Tractate Ta'anit, says, Kol hamit'abel al Yerushalayim, zoche vero'eh besimchata. Whoever mourns for Jerusalem merits and sees her joy. And the Pri Tzaddik was a Rebbe who lived in the second half of the 19th century. He was a disciple of the Ishbitzer Rebbe, familiar to many of us. Rabbi Tzadok HaKohen of Lublin. He taught the following, Kol hamitabel al Yerushalayim zoche v'roeh besimchata. Whoever mourns for Jerusalem is granted the gift of seeing her joy. Not merely in some distant future, but here and now. For the words in the Talmud are in the present tense, zoche veroeh, merits and sees, now. Anyone who mourns for Jerusalem merits and sees her joy. According to the depths, he says, according to the depth of one's yearning and longing in the innermost heart, so is one immediately granted to behold and to feel her joy deep within. The joy of which it is said, Simchu tzadikim b'Adonai. Rejoice in Adonai, O you righteous. So when we are in the depth of mourning, what happens is that we yearn and we long for something different. And when we are in that yearning and that longing in the depth of the heart, he says, we're granted to behold and to feel her joy. We want to see this vision of something different. Many of us are mourning deeply for what's going on. For Israelis and for Palestinians, for the hostages, for the innocent civilians. We're mourning in deep heartbreak and sadness, but at the same time, I believe, many of us are yearning. We're longing to see the end of this cruelty and this madness. We long so much. So in the depth of the heart, according to this Rebbe, the priest Tzaddik, in the depth of the heart, when we mourn like this, a vision is formed of what it could be like, of a different reality, a reality of peace and coexistence and cooperation, which is elusive in reality, but is present in the heart, of an end to the 100 years of hatred, of a different end to this story, a different end than the one that is being written now in suffering and blood. So this is Shabbat Nachamu, consolation. It's not that consolation is here. But as we mourned last week on Tisha B'Av, and we continue to mourn for what's going on, for the desecration of God's name before the entire world, and for what's going on in this country, where God's name is also being desecrated. So even as we mourn on Shabbat Nachamu, there's a vision in every person's heart. And I invite you to reach on the Shabbat into that vision. The vision that will guide us and will show us the values we must protect. How each one of us must think and speak and act. The morning awakens a vision, and the vision awakens consolation. Nachamu, Nachamu Ami. Comfort, comfort my people. May we merit to find consolation and to see the vision of the joy of Yerushalayim and all those who love her and who yearn for peace.